Hi, how are you? This is Dr. Damaris Maria Grossman, and this is the Mindfully Integrative Show. And today's mindful chat is Dr. Harsha Vathsangam. He is a amazing individual. He has developed and founder of this cardiac health digital health program called Moving Analytics, and he has a wealth of knowledge and many things to share with us in the integrative health space. So I cannot wait for you guys to listen and see him today. Hi, how are you? Nice to see you, Dr. Van Sandram.
Nice to meet you, Damaris. It's a pleasure to be on this podcast and excited to kick off what I think will be a fun conversation as well.
Yeah. So, as I always start kind of like the show, and I just say, what's something that people may not know about you and that they can't initially find out? A little fun fact, something fun.
Yeah, I think people, I think I'm a pretty decent cook. So I really enjoy cooking. And one of my I have two things that I really like to do on the weekends when I have more time. So one is I make this, I'm Indian origin. So I make this dish called dosa, which is an Indian crepe that you make. So I actually, like people, during COVID started making the sourdough batter. I started making my own dosa batter from scratch with the fermentation and everything. And I do that every week now at this point. So another thing I like to do is pasta. I make my own pasta every
your
week.
own?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds yummy.
Yep.
That's probably nice and fresh, and that's the right way to eat pasta.
Yeah, for
How long?
sure. And yeah, I like to infuse all herbs and spices a little bit into the batter too. So you get a little exciting there as well.
May I ask, how long does it usually take just to do like a basic one? Or
If you're making like a basic spaghetti, probably 3 hours or so. And a lot of that is just, rolling and rolling and rolling and getting the batter to be a very nice texture before you do it as well. So, but I do it the manual way. You can speed it up much faster if you get the automatic cutters of the pasta as
okay,
well.
okay.
Yeah.
But wow, that in itself is its own mindful technique. You know what I mean? Like that's like its own mindful like moment. Like you're just taking like that's probably therapeutic. I don't know how you must really enjoy it.
For me, cooking is very therapeutic because I think it's like for all the senses, right? Like because it's
Yeah.
sights, sounds, smell, just the sizzle of water on oil. I think that's like that itself is a very relaxing sound for me, and it's also nice to try different dishes, and if you do it right, everyone is happy about it because you get a tasty dish at the end. So it's everything, not that, and it helps a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds so lovely. Do you cook for yourself, do you have family, or do you cook for the whole house or just yourself?
I think my mom says this best. Like, it's always nice. The best cooking is when you can cook for others because you don't feel as
Oh,
interested in cooking for yourself as much. Obviously, I live with my wife, and
yeah.
we, try to have different dishes. We recently got this book of like 150 or is it 200 vegan dishes. So we're vegan. So
Oh,
uh,
wonderful.
and we just try to go week by week through some dish and see
And
if we
try
can do it.
something different. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so lovely. I'm not vegan, but I'm mostly dairy free and I
Uh-huh.
really mostly non trying to go on the vegan side, but I haven't gotten there yet. But I'm mostly non-dairy and
Yeah.
vegetarian. So but I
Uh,
love that.
uh,
So let's
yeah.
talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously you eat well.
Yeah.
But beyond that, how exactly, would you like to talk about? I mean, I know that you are computer science, you have a PhD in computer science, you are
Mhm.
work in the medical field, and you have a founder of a digital health company. And I love for you to discuss that. But even before that, how did you get kind of that to that point? How did it kind of come from you to like to kind of incorporate the science and integrate the health part for you and then
Yeah,
take it to another level?
yeah. Um, Personally for me, like like my natural state of being is to start tinkering with electronics. If you leave me alone, I'll probably start getting a bunch of cables and some computers together and start coding and getting things done. That's just something, again, like cooking, I really enjoy building things and making things usable and so on. But I think there's another side of me where I think there's the tinkering part, but I also really want to make an impact in people's lives. And what better way to make an impact than in improving their health and wellness as well. And I just felt that there was this immense opportunity to merge technology with and leverage technology to improve people's lives in some fashion, right? So and therefore, I just think that what was great about that is like I felt that there was a way to deliver it in a scalable way, in a way that could be delivered to thousands, if not millions, of people. And that was sort of my personal mission. And I think eventually that manifested itself in the form of moving analytics and the work that we do. In moving analytics itself, I did my PhD in computer science, and even though I did my PhD in computer science, pretty much all my publications were like in preventive medicine or in biomedical engineering. And a lot of that had to do with just the work I was doing in working with populations that needed preventive medicine, right? Like so to prevent chronic diseases.
Right, right. And that's what, I was so excited to have you on because you're on the forefront of where we need to be and be talking about. So yeah, let's talk further about that. Tell me more.
So what I saw were really like in my PhD work was there's like, as we know, cardiovascular disease is the number one cause of death, number one source of direct and indirect healthcare costs, increasingly borne by individuals today, right? But a large part of it is preventable if you can change day-to-day behaviors. And what that means is you can get people to exercise more, eat better, take care of their mental and emotional well-being, and so on. And in fact, 60 to 70% of cardiovascular disease can be prevented if you can help people with those changes as well. Challenges, we live in a complex world. We have multiple things vying for attention as individuals. Yes, I can tell you exercise more, but there are often several, maybe personal, familial, or environmental or community barriers that prevent you from exercising more. So then the question is, how do you help that individual really implement the best practice advice and in a way that's sustainable for their lives? And I just felt that there was this tremendous opportunity in being able to create evidence-based therapies along that line, right? And that was the germination for the work we do at Moving Analytics, which is really create evidence-based therapies that can empower every individual to live a life free of cardiovascular disease. And that's our mission as a company as well.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, think about that as a whole, where you're not just looking at just what people are eating or what their thoughts are. You're looking at the whole behavior modification and discussing their lifestyle medicine. And that's huge.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk further on kind of or like a scenario case study of how it kind of started, how you kind of started to implement this, or
Yeah, it's been a long journey for us at Moving
Yeah.
Analytics. I think when we initially started, we started out selling software, right? Like to existing rehab facilities. And the problem we're trying to solve there is essentially, anytime someone has a heart attack or heart surgery, studies show that if you complete a behavior modification program, which is what also known as a cardiac rehabilitation program,
Right.
you double your chance of living another 5 years. You cut your risk of a second heart attack in half. But the shocking fact is that despite these benefits, 90% of all patients after a heart attack or heart surgery don't participate in rehab. And the reason is purely one of access. So if you want access to this kind of program, you have to visit a rehab facility. For most people, they live far away. They got to take time off from work. They have multiple competing priorities, particularly women and minorities.
Yes,
They
100% agree.
yeah, like a woman, many women have, they're often the primary caregiver in their household themselves. And they have to balance job, personal life, children, all that stuff. And also they experience cardiovascular symptoms differently than men. It's enough studies have shown that they may not even realize that they're having a heart attack, even though they're having a heart attack. So it's, and all of these kind of systemic issues prevent people from participating in rehab. And we felt that there was this opportunity to reimagine what that experience is like and really create a rehab experience that is in meeting the needs of the patient where they want it. Like rather than them coming to get rehab, the rehab goes to them in their facilities to get access to it. And that was
Wherever
a
they are.
journey.
So whether that's their home, whether that's an assisted living, whether that's a hospital, you're
Yeah,
bringing this rehab to them.
exactly. You could be on, you could be on travel, you could be on a cruise ship, you could be anywhere you wanted, and we will still get your rehab to you and make
I
sure.
find that so impactful. I talk about digital health just in general, but meeting where the patient is, you're giving them access to wherever they are, and you
Yeah.
just need a good, just a good signal, right? A good Wi-Fi or such.
In today's world where almost everyone owns an iPad, everybody has some sort of
Phone.
Netflix or Amazon, whatever else is there. You're
Right, right.
getting everything to your home. You deliver food to your home. Why can't you get healthcare delivered to your home? Like, why do you need to do it? And
I talk about this all the time.
yeah, so I just think like a broader sort of movement that I think we're a part of is taking healthcare, rather than people wanting to go to a hospital to get healthcare or go to some clinic to get healthcare, the healthcare should be brought to them. And what are all the scenarios where we can make that happen before we sort of get that process before maybe we hit a wall or you absolutely have to attend an on-site facility. So I think there's just a broader opportunity, in the preventive space, like where you can really help empower individuals to adopt healthy habits so they don't have to go into the clinic in the first place. And also you can catch particular issues that do need extensive triaging to go to, and then you can bring them on site to do more deeper kind of tests and analysis and so on. So I think that's I think the broader movement that I think we're part of, that hopefully we will contribute really positively and make a strong impact as well.
You have been. I mean, you must have a numerous amounts of data already. I mean, given
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you incorporating this nationally right now or just on certain states or certain areas?
Um, our mission is to serve 1 million patients a year nationally, right? At least. And we feel confident we can do this just because of the data that we've been able to generate. So in the customers we work with, which includes pretty marquee names like Kaiser Permanente,
Oh, wow.
Highmark Health,
Right, right.
the VA, and so on.
Oh, you started with the
We
VA. That's great.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and we actually work very closely with the Atlanta VA Medical Center and the work they do there. But we've been able to consistently show. So prior to working with us, post-acute rehab participation rates are 15, 20%, right? Like, which is kind of what the national averages are.
Horrible.
And
Horrible.
then, and the completion rates are half, like 50%. Of the 20% who start, only half completed. What we've been able to take those sites to is a 70, 80% rehab participation rate and an 80% completion rate. Um,
Significant.
yeah, and it's almost literally 10 times the completion rate what they
That's
used to get.
significant.
And the what we'd like to be able to do now is, since we have such strong data, to essentially get more and more health plans to cover this as a benefit for their members.
Right.
And for a health plan, the reason why they should cover it is straightforward. Like, more members do rehab, they're healthier. And because they're healthier, they have fewer readmissions and they cost less to you, like as a health plan. For a patient, it is that, again, you're getting healthier, you're improving your quality of life. We've had patients say things like, hey, I used to pay somebody to water my plants and do my yard work, but now I do the yard work because I'm more physically fit after doing your program. And
Oh, that's cool.
that's like a sense of empowerment, not to
Yeah.
mention cost savings they get from their day-to-day lives as well. So so I think that I just think it's a win for everyone, and so we really want more and more plans to cover it. We're mostly active in the Midwest and upstate Northeast right now. So we're active in Illinois, Pennsylvania, New York, Georgia, as I mentioned, with the VA, and but we are planning to go national with our approach. So
Awesome. Oh, you will. I mean, once little by little, I think that, I mean, the healthcare, different health plans, it sounds very beneficial for them. I mean,
yeah.
a preventative way, if you have to, them having to pay for a bypass surgery or them having to, or readmission to another bypass surgery or a patient that's heart healthy, like it should, the numbers should make sense to, to be part of that. I mean, I see so much. I can see this going into many directions, not just the
Mhm.
rehab part, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
preventative is just so important. I talk about life. I mean, I'm a big advocate in lifestyle medicine. So
Yep. Yep.
I just think
Mhm.
that, what we do, it's a big direct effect. Did you find with your moving analytics, because of that emotional behavioral piece, have you had to incorporate a lot of psychologists or therapists in your group, or is it like the whole team? Like it's a whole team when you do this rehab, right?
Yes, if you're a patient in our program, we connect you with a whole team that does. So that includes first of all, a tech support specialist who can help you with the technology aspects of the
Oh,
program.
great. Yeah.
Uh,
Especially with the
the
elder patients. Most of them are older, right? A
Yeah,
lot,
yeah.
most
We're
of them,
very
not
big
all.
on white glove service. So like we will call you and sit with you as long as it takes to get everything set up so that you don't have to,
Oh,
fudge around with all the technology. And we've found that when we do that, it leads to huge difference in adherence rates, and because people are just more comfortable. And
yeah.
we see other things happen too, like the when people get comfortable with their smartphones, then they also start sending selfies to their grandkids and everything like that, and they just get super comfortable as part of it too. So but yes, that we do that, and then we also connect you with a dedicated one-on-one coach who's usually a nurse or exercise physiologist. You're also connected with a dietitian, a psychologist, and a cardiologist who supervises the program as well. So it's a whole team that does it, and we're all constantly looking for ways to innovate on the kind of resources we give you access to when you participate in our program, including discounts on local gym memberships, things like that as well that you can do. Um, so that coach really creates a customized treatment plan for you that matches your needs. And it's really different from for some people, it's about exercise. For others, it's about stressing less. For others, it's about managing their meds. And we really start from the point of speaking about behavior change, places, the intersection of where you can get the biggest bang for your buck in terms of behavior change, and also where you want to change your life,
Love it.
and because
A lot of
we
empowerment.
want your buy-in to happen. And then we use that as sort of a keystone habit to build in your day. We build keystone habits to help you change these behaviors. And then as you get competent, you get healthier, you feel like you can do a lot more. And then we start layering new habits and new behaviors on your day as well as part of it.
Love it. Do you also incorporate a lot of the wearable kind of technology, or advocate for them to use more of that kind of options?
Yeah, so every patient actually gets a kit that's shipped to them. It's a box which
Awesome.
consists of
Awesome.
a wearable, like a watch.
Hmm.
It consists of a blood pressure cuff, weight scale, activity
So you
tracker,
have a
all
good
of that.
diagnostic tool kit to kind of get all
Exactly.
that. Wonderful. Wonderful.
And
Wow.
then you're gonna get, and that all automatically syncs with our system, and our coaches get all the data, and they can coach you based off that as well.
That's so cool. How and for the most part, like you were saying, like getting around 60 to 70% in the change, like from 10% to 70%, that's quite profound. I definitely
Yeah.
see this growing. Especially now with the way that all of, people have been eating, and the way that they're, more and more heart attacks are kind of not the way to go. I don't you so overall, like your system and what you've been doing is pretty profound. On a national level, I see so much. I was actually going to ask, I don't usually ask, but in the reference to in a community health in a rural area, is it more difficult, or is it just about the same as long as they have basic technology, are able to see pretty much anyone?
Um, we we've seen a couple of things in rural settings, right? So one is, whether you like it or not, cell phone connections are really bad there. It's a data
Right,
plan.
right, of course, yeah.
And so what we've been able to do is, we literally like ship you a device over there with our own cell connection, so that you can, with everything pre-installed, so that even we take that out of the equation for you as
That's
part of
super
it.
cool. So you've kind of like done a step further and taken
Yeah.
it so that you can help every person.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's really cool.
We did actually consider doing like paper-based or text message-based approaches,
Right,
but
right.
the trade-off there would be that you don't get as rich an experience as you could by leveraging the
Mhm.
technology, right? And
And
we
you're not
want
getting
to
as much of the data that you may need, or
exactly.
in sync.
Yeah. Um, so the other thing we're trying to do also is to go multilingual in our content, right? Like so we're trying to
Well, that
we
takes it
have
to
a
a whole other level. I didn't even think
yeah
of that. Yeah.
yeah. So Spanish is we already support Spanish and Spanish content. We'll soon be supporting other languages as well. And it's really about like again going back to this thing of who needs this the most, and are we reaching them where they want to be reached, right? Like and getting access to that. So I think that's all things we were doing.
That's real. I mean, I think it's so important. I'm a big advocate for community health and rural work. And has it been hard for you to well implement? Well, I hopefully with if you get the buy-in with the VA or buy-in with the health plans, then these people can afford it. Then it should be afforded. It will be available for them
Yeah.
or for anyone. At any price point. Correct.
Yeah. Our idea is that so in our
I love
us
it. I think it's amazing.
like health plans have to cover it, and doctors need to strongly advocate for the service, right? So they need to say um, that this program is beneficial for you as the patient, and they highly recommend to do it, and they're going to write you a referral for it. So I think that also goes a long way because patients do listen to their doctors as medical experts, and when a doctor says do something, most likely the patient will kind of follow through with that as well. In terms of medical advice, when we negotiate with health plans, right, for coverage, we try to make sure that the program is $0 cost out of pocket cost to patients, so that even the cost question is taken out of the
That's
equation.
pretty profound. That's very
Yeah,
difficult to do in a, with medical, I think that in itself shows how caring and how devoted you must be to your company because, the healthcare costs are a lot and you care, that shows beyond. I mean, obviously want your company to do well, but
yeah,
the fact that you really want your patients to be better, that's pretty profound.
yep.
Um,
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. Have you found, I know these are more questions that I usually don't ask, but just I find your company pretty amazing. So the things that you're trying to do is it's different. It's the cutting edge, I
Mhm.
think. um taking it to the next level for the patient, you're doing multilingual, you're trying to, make sure it's affordable for them. And are you bringing this to like, is it just cardiologists or are you trying to get the primary provider to also advocate for this for their patient, just so that they're having the conversation of cardiac health?
Yes, a great question. So my opinion is
Being a
so
primary provider, so it's just like family. I'm wondering how you
yeah.
is that another
Look, like cardiac rehab is what's called a class 1A recommendation. And what that is it's considered the top of the top best practice guideline for like you have to do this. If not, it's considered bad medical practice. Like it's that level of importance, right? So now we think that any physician who feels that the patient qualifies, they know that the patient had a heart attack or they are high risk of getting a future heart attack and so on. They have to refer the patient to cardiac rehab and talk to the patient, educate them about their options, and let them know. It doesn't have to be our program. It could be even the existing facility-based approach. But the fact is that cardiac rehab saves lives and it does improve outcomes. And we a large part of our advocacy efforts is actually just talking to multiple physicians about the benefits of cardiac rehab for their patients in as many settings as possible, and trying to get their buy-in to say, you please make sure you talk about this to your patients, and have your staff talk about it to your patients as well, because your patients are going to ultimately benefit from it as
No,
well.
I completely agree on that end. My additional question to that is this is cardiac rehab after post heart attack. Do you
Yeah.
do a lot of this also pre heart attack conversation for a lot of those kind of like a pre diabetic, a pre cardiac patient, those patients that are, obviously in this metabolic or, pre heart attack, heart disease? Do you also do this program for them too? Because I feel like there could be a need.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head on
You know what I
like
mean?
how
Like
we're thinking
that other
of
aspect that I'm like, oh, this one's going to lead to a heart attack.
like some a very esteemed physician I work with basically said the difference between primary prevention and secondary prevention is 30 seconds. So
Yeah.
you
Wow. I didn't even think of that.
it,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
had the heart attack and now you're a secondary prevention patient. That's it. Like
Mhm.
but you still were a very high risk patient, and you sort of maybe had blockage in your arteries. You maybe had you were overweight, and that leads to other complications like
Right.
hypertension and so on. So I think there's a lot of scope in taking this paradigm that we've built and then expanding it to other indications, including high-risk patients who might be getting future heart attacks. And the, um, the vision there is that this is this digital pill, right? Like that you're prescribing a patient.
Right.
And what this digital pill encompasses is the behavior modification to get people to exercise better, eat better, take their meds regularly, and so on and so forth,
Right.
quit smoking, and all of and that can reduce their future risk of cardiovascular care. And that's also where I think the primary care physician plays a huge role, because they
Right.
can be co or partners in helping us deliver this approach as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, wow, I see that as another step into that equation. But yeah, I didn't even think about it 30 seconds. But being that it's like, I think about my patients and all the patients that I talk with it's like for me, I call it like a record play, because I feel like I have the same conversation over and over. And I think that there are, some of them are very close to having a heart attack, or I'm like, I guess more of them are in that metabolic syndrome for most of my patients, but most of metabolic syndromes lead to diabetes, heart attack,
Yeah.
heart disease,
And
stroke and such, and so on.
there's also, I think, other indications like cardio-oncology, like when you're in remission from cancer, chemotherapy, for example, or for a cancer, your cardiovascular system is very fatigued, right? And there's an opportunity there, for example, to use rehabilitation to get your whole body back to its full strength and full process. And I think, end of the day, what we're talking about is
Yeah.
healing, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And where else can you help patients heal for when they have cardiovascular disease? And that's the bigger picture of why we're doing what we're doing as well.
That's amazing. I mean, I totally random, but I'm just a big yogi. Do you add yoga and breathing in there too?
Yeah, we do.
You
So
do.
we have yoga,
Just because
breathing.
I've seen so many great. I was just wondering if you had in there. I'm like, oh, it's always part of my regimen. So
We have a full mindfulness curriculum inside
very
our
cool.
app as well.
Love it.
And we try to progress patients through that. And so I'll give you a story super quick, which is
Sure.
we had a patient who had a heart attack and was recovering from it. And when you kind of looked at his life story, he was also taking care of his wife who had a form of cancer basically, and was in having chronic issues because of that. So he used to get super stressed, and naturally, as you know, he's living, he has multiple things to deal with. And actually, the first thing we worked with him on was mindfulness and being able to recognize when he's stressed and being able to develop mechanisms to help him manage his stress, right? Like as part of his recovery. And it took him a month or so to kind of get the habits going. And then once he had that habit going, he felt a lot stronger to be able to take care of both himself and his wife. And then we were also able to layer on new behaviors like, hey, if you're thinking about reducing stress, you should also go for a 30-minute walk every day. It'll help you
Yeah.
clear your mind and so on. And
Love
then
it.
he started building those habits from that point on.
Love it. Yep. I love it.
Yeah.
Because that's like, seriously, as you can see, I say a mindful away every day, and it's like these conversations of just one little thing each day. Let's add a conversation. So that's amazing. I love it. It's profound, because I think it's preventative health in this different way. So I really appreciate you being on, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit more of how people can reach you, or is there any upcoming events or conferences that you're going to be doing that people can get a hold of you? I'll have your information in the show notes, but if you have anything coming up recent, or another, please feel free to discuss.
So if you want to reach us, very simple, just send us an email at hello@movinganalytics.com. And also you can follow us on Twitter at @movinganalytics. And you could also, we'll be at the JP Morgan conference, healthcare conference in January this year. So, which is, I think, mid-January in San Francisco. So if you'd like to see us there. We're almost always at many regional rehab conferences, which are usually in March or April. So
You guys are located East Coast or West Coast?
we're LA based, actually.
LA
Yeah.
based. Awesome. Very cool. Well, I appreciate you being on the show, and the listeners and those watching. Thank you, for taking the time. And is there any, as I say, a mindful way or a small tip that you'd like to share to the audience?
The biggest thing you can do for your life in terms of increasing your health and life expectancy is walk 30 minutes a day. Don't, that's the prescription I'm giving everybody as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
So their mindful ways is to get a little movement in their life. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
I can't. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
get your Spotify playlist going and just go for a short walk. It's a great way to be in the moment and take a break for sure.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and for being on the show. And I know that your time is precious. So thanks again.
Thank you for the opportunity. I had a fun time as well.
I appreciate it. You have a good day. And thank you guys for joining in on the show. And make sure each and every day you find a mindful way.